Hello, everyone. I wanted to start a new campaign of the Grand Campaign with Deductor's Mod, but under what I'll call Napoleon difficulty. And I actually was having a conversation with Lucarnis about this, and he kind of made me change the rules to be even harder. And I think it's actually possible to make this work with Deductor's Mod. Part of the reason I wanted to do this is I've never seen anyone finish Deductor's mod. And I think Deductor stopped playing because he was finding it to get easier once he got into 44. But I think that with these rule changes, Deductor wouldn't be sitting on 11,000 prestige at Vilna. So, it's going to be, I think it's going to be really hard to actually stack prestige. So let's walk through the rules of uh, what they are. So the rule of one is in effect. This is inspired by Lucarnis and also Goose's Africa Corps playthrough. And I'll be honest with you, I think Goose's Africa Corps playthrough with the rule of one was probably the 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 best playthrough Goose has ever done. It's probably I just think it's in my opinion, it's up there with Deductor's playthrough in Panzer Corps. I just think that those, it's up there with Soren's Manstein. Those are just like top of the line playthroughs people should watch. So no one's ever done the rule of one with the Grand Campaign, and it's really hard only in the beginning, and I think it's much more reasonable later. But I was talking to Lucarnis, and I think it's possible with Deductor's mod to make this work, and I will be doing some very creative things to make this work. The other thing is we're going to do some more things. Much like Deductor, we'll have double Rommel, but I'm going to give the AI max prestige just to make the pain really painful. It's going to be double field marshal. This is not something Deductor dealt with. He would almost, I think Deductor 11 years ago would have said it is not possible. I don't know if that's true. I do think it's at least possible through 42. Um, what's possible in 43, I don't know. Almost no one's ever played his mod through to 43. So, that's an interesting change. The other change, and I never see anybody do this, is give the AI a small bonus in experience accrual. Let's make things more intense. So I like this. I like this a lot. So the AI is a little bit stronger. The other requirement, you must have two SE infantry units. The reason I'm doing this is to prevent you from just acquiring SE tanks, and that can like make your core super strong. Deductor's mod gives bonuses to SE tanks. I think it's +1 heart attack, and I think infantry get +1 soft attack and +1 heart attack. I should probably confirm that. Where is SE stuff? Um, Somewhere in here. Uh, we're missing the SE stuff. Doesn't he? Just scrolling through this, he mentioned something about that. Uh, I don't remember, but I think they get +1 heart attack, +1 soft attack. So this is gonna force you um to balance the SE core. Uh, no elite replacement costs are required for all battles that take place during 1939. Now, this is where things get spicy, and this is when I think Deductor would throw a hissy fit. Deductor is arguing, oh, it's getting a little too easy for him in 1944. Well, I don't know if that's going to be true anymore with these rules. So starting in Norway, if regular replacement costs drop your unit below 1 star, you have to use elite replacements. If you are unable to use elite replacements, you cannot deploy this unit. It must stay in reserve. So why do I have this rule? I have this rule to make sure that all of the sneaky little tricks that people use to accumulate prestige, surrenders, and capturable units, and so on, I'm making sure you can't stack too much. This is really going to force your hand on you have to spend prestige on experience growth. You can't cheat the system. I am so good at cheating the system on this. It's very abusive when you're playing on ultimate mode how to use this. And also you get rewarded more with experienced units in his mod. So this is actually a fail safe. It's basically saying if you can afford this and keep growing your core, you're playing really well. If you can't afford to do this, you need to get better. So if you're starting to hit roadblocks almost immediately, you need to get better or you need to hold back on buying new units. But we're not done. This is not the stuff. This is very insane, but it's going to get more insane. And you can see that every year we're upping the restrictions. You have to keep experience. You can't cheat the system. You can use airfields to transport troops in Poland, one plane for each scenario. This was just something you can add in the map editor. It's not a big deal. I'll show you for Piatek and loads. I'll show you exactly how to use them for great effect. And I don't think it's that ahistorical. There were definitely paratroopers that were trained and ready to go. They just didn't get the call in 39. So it's really cool. It adds dynamicism to the maps that weren't there before. But you can only use them to transport troops. I know you can transport artillery and anti-tanks, but that's a little crazy. You can easily add exit hexes for each map. Not really that relevant for 1939, but becomes more relevant as the campaign goes on. So the idea of exit hexes is you have a really damaged unit, and I'm especially thinking about armor or perhaps an airplane. And keeping it on the map is a liability, and it can't protect your flanks anymore. So add an exit hex. The cost is that you have to take that unit all the way back to the exit hex, and you're going to lose all of those turns. And only after the unit exits can you add a replacement unit. So it sounds pretty crazy, but I think it'll be very difficult to use for a ground unit, but theoretically possible. But it will probably be used for the Air Force. I'll explain what I mean by that later. Uh, or no, I'll explain it now. So we're gonna have the rule of one in effect, so I can only have one fighter. That doesn't mean I don't have more than one fighter ready to go in deployment. So if I get a damaged fighter, I could just pull it back to an exit hex and then pull in another fighter. And this will help keep the Air Force fresh, and you don't run the risk of a fighter dwindling in strength and getting sniped by an AA gun or another fighter. This will help protect the Air Force. What next? No hero units. So, you get them and you can sell them for prestige, and that's it. And exit hexes help you get rid of these units, so you're not playing with them by accident. Um, So that's a really cool feature is I think the hero units have made us bad Panzer Corps players. They are not balanced. So now, not only are you losing these super powerful units, you have to buy replacement units for a lot of these guys, and they're not going to be super powerful. They're going to be inexperienced and so on. I've been playtesting this by the way before I try a live play. And I feel like I have never had as much fun playing the Grand Campaign than with all of these rules. And one of the things I notice is I'm playing objectively better. It's not clean and pristine. It's not, mistake free, but it feels like the creative juices are flowing again. And I actually sometimes have to think on these early maps on how to deal with various situations. And if you play on ultimate mode for too long, what ends up happening is like you have to reload a lot. Like it's, I mean, there's only one person on the planet that I'm aware of that theoretically could do ultimate mode without reloads as a live play. But the preparation involved, it would be a full-time job for that person. So it's like, we should get away from the reloading because I think it's teaching us really bad habits. What next? You can use Lacarnas's mod, which is used with you need Battlefield Europe. So the benefit of that is you get more unit selection. So that's something you can consider. You have to use a hardcore version, which includes experience hits when you upgrade out of class. Uh, and there was something else. I don't remember. There was. Uh, let's scroll down. The experience penalty changes by the year. And reinforcement costs are more expensive. Yes. Yeah. And rule three, yeah. So the thing with deductors mod is replacement costs are more expensive, and you lose experience when you upgrade out of class, and that penalty increases every campaign year and caps at 250, I think. Right? Yeah, caps at 250. Okay, you must accept turn one weather. Non-SE infantry can't use transports. So there's lots of clever things Goose and other players do with transports. We're not going to allow that. So the narrative here is you're viewed as the worst divisional commander in the entire German army, and they don't even give you proper equipment. So that's why you're starting 1939 as a disaster. You don't even have transports. And it's like a running joke through the whole Grand Campaign. You're just not going to get them. However, you can use the rail, sea, and air. That's fine. It's very historic to do that. You're not allowed to use overstrength. So already, like, if you thought that the restrictions were too much, this is the point where everybody starts rebelling. No overstrength allowed. I think even Deductor was getting called out for this in his videos. He was overstrengthening rocket artillery, his Stukas, his airplanes, and key infantry, and obviously some of his tanks, and his 88 gun, obviously. And it's so the problem is it's kind of uh even with double Rommel, you can stack enough prestige to do this. So, and it's creating an unbalanced situation. Now, notice I only said non SE units. I don't have a problem with SE units over strengthening, just because from what I gather historically, those units were well trained and well supplied, and basically every kind of perk you could think of they got. So extra troops is fine. And Deductor was making note that this is why the SE units are cheaper and their transports are cheaper, and it's easier to do elite replacements on them. Like they're not that expensive, frankly. So I'm fine with that. But the rest of your core, no overstrength allowed. This is super sketchy. So one of the reasons you need to add exit hexes is as the war progresses and you start taking hits from things, you're going to need some backup units in your core so you can get them back in, especially armor. Uh, it's something to think about, or maybe your infantry takes a big hit and you just need another one of some kind in there because the rule of one is in effect. Okay, what else? Uh, Oh, no re-rolling heroes. No lost units can be restored. Decisive victories every battle may not be reasonable. Is one thing I will say. I think it's reasonable up to somewhere in 42, but uh I wouldn't say it's required to have a decisive victory every battle. But if you can do it, you get the Napoleon title. And frankly, that's like the highest title you can earn, in my opinion, in Panzer Corps. It's not ultimate mode. Ultimate mode is insane, but it would be if you did a live play of Napoleon difficulty and you got a decisive victory on every map, it would be extremely impressive. No more than half of your artillery corps can be Mobile. So what that means is you can't just have a bunch of Hummels. Well, you can't anyway because of the rule of one. But if you bring like four or five motorized, or not motorized, but like non-truck based artillery, you have to bring at least that much towed. You cannot deploy more than two grenadiers of any type, more than one. Whoops. So we should not see three grenadiers. You're allowed an SE grenadier, and you're allowed a regular grenadier. You can deploy two pioneers, and one grenadier and one grenadier as a compromise. To the only way this works, actually, I should put this is only possible at 43. One is 43 pioneer, and the other is 39 pioneer. That's the only way. So you're probably thinking we're going to need a lot of heavy weapons infantry to deal with tanks. Maybe you're right. So if you want that, you can have two pioneers sitting in your core, but you can't deploy more than one. And then in 43, you can upgrade one of them to 43. So then that would count as a different unit. Okay, this is going to prevent you guys. I know what you're thinking. I know how you guys think. Oh, I'm just going to stack a bunch of grenadiers in my core, and we're going to do close terrain fights endlessly. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a part of how you play, but I don't want you guys to be having overstrengthened grenadiers doing this. You're going to have to think very carefully about critical points and when to use them. And you might find that you have to use elite replacements in battle because you don't have a whole bunch of grenadiers sitting in your reserve corps. That's something to think about. Only use German units. No cashable units can be added to the core. So the other issue I have with Deductor's mod is he used like a couple T-34s and Sherman tanks and like KVs, and I felt it was getting a little out of whack. And I think he noticed it and he kind of dialed it back a little bit. But actually, what kind of happens is he just gets more armor, and so the balance is okay. But I felt like uh, I felt like it was letting him cheese a few things because the KB tank is so strong on the ground defense, and he got it for free. I mean, remember he's playing with no soft cap, so he got this KB tank for free, and it's absorbing all these blows, and it doesn't even affect his prestige accumulation. So I felt like that isn't allowed. You're only allowed to sell these units. You can't use them. The exception is the Polish artillery because the reality is I don't know what the difference is between a Polish 10.5 gun and a German one, but I imagine it's pretty small. So I don't even see it as a foreign unit, frankly. I mean, even Deductor makes an addendum where he's like, "Oh yeah, you can upgrade this in class." I don't think that's a big deal. So you can only do one Wolfram. Actually, I don't need this rule because rule of one is in effect. That was from a prior thing. Uh yeah, I can't use wolf ramen to endlessly destroy infantry. You must keep your transports of your SE as soon as possible. Those transports need to be different from each other. So once you hit Norway, you need to set aside 50 prestige so you can upgrade to half tracks on one of them. Well, first time a unit is used, the next deployment you do not have to use elite replacements. So one of the things you're probably thinking about is you have to buy units, right? We're going to be buying units through 1942. So obviously all of these units are below the necessary stars. But the first time you deploy them, you don't have to use elite replacements. So I would definitely bloody them up, and the other benefit of this is you are going to lose prestige. You have to invest in your units. And because the double field marshal's in effect, you're going to want to invest in your units. You cannot sit back in his mod and let low experience units go into combat against Russian troops. It's a horrible idea. And I think his playthrough kind of showcases how important experience is. So you need to invest, and it's going to drain your prestige. I want you to never feel comfortable. The idea is you're always stressed out like a real field marshal. And the Germans were absolutely doing all kinds of backdoor shenanigans to supply their troops. The reality is that the German panzer divisions were a hodgepodge of all kinds of different units. units probably fighting in places they shouldn't have been. You get all kinds of different experiences all jammed into a division core. It is a mess. They had supply problems. We can watch Tick Stalingrad series, and you can just see it's an endless story of logistics and supply problems. So it's not surprising that a whole bunch of random units get pulled here and there to hold the line. That's kind of the story of like a post 41 German war campaign. So um what was I trying to say? So yeah, so like that's just it's okay that it's like that. And then a bonus insanity is try to show off every unit type over the campaign or come close. You can exclude one class upgrade path or one particular upgrade. Uh, like I won't use one of the flak. Like I think it's available in 42. It's a towed flak, and I believe it's only used for defensive purposes anyway. It wasn't really a part of Panzer divisions. It was just like a homeland defense flag. But things like that, like I won't be playing with a regular Tiger too. Or no, I won't be playing with I might play with a regular Tiger too. But a mouse tank. Actually, I don't even know if you can buy a mouse tank. I think that might be no purchase. So I won't play with like a regular Tiger 2. I will play with an SE Tiger 2, but those are different, technically different units. So what the core would look like at the end is something like this. So we're going to be playing with bridge engineers, and there's all kinds of cool tricks you can do with that. And we're going to look at, we will look at all of the flak too. There's flak that's never been explored in the original game, and he made all the flak guns be an upgrade path. So you're going to see a flak gun probably at Spoils of War start as the lowest level of flak, and we will gradually upgrade it, and it will probably become an 88 gun. So that's like that's a cool thing, and that could end up either becoming one of the armored Panzer flak or the 12.8. And the other cool thing he did with the flak is all the armored flak is in the same family. So only one of my flak pieces will take an upgrade penalty when I decide to do that. So in 44 there'll be a couple of changes like, you know, probably so I'm gonna have this towed flak that isn't the 88 gun all the way through 44 basically. And I can decide at that point what to make it. So that's like a really cool feature. These in-class family upgrades really in my opinion, it makes the use of these units come out. And the rule of one really makes it come out. You're probably wondering, like, why do you need four flak? You're not even playing on Manstein. The reason you need four flak is the changes he's made to the defense values of the Soviet and Allied planes are so insane that you are going to be fighting a long time in the war. Like I can tell you at Piatek, for instance, I sometimes have two planes on that map. I'm fighting and dealing with two planes. So it is a non-trivial thing to wipe the map of all the planes. Like one of the things I love about his mod is it's difficult to use Soren's method. I especially think if you're using the rule of one, I don't think Soren's method works at all, at least not for a long time. So what this means is that the air war, you are thinking about the air war, I suspect, for like most of the battle, which is probably the way it should be. It's keeping things balanced. It's preventing you from just completely steamrolling the enemy and sending your bombers everywhere. One of the problems I'm kind of noticing is people are not escorting bombers, and we should feel like we're compelled to do that at least some of the extent. And I feel like his mod, if you watch his playthrough, it's like he is most of the time on top of the fact that he has to escort things. I actually got punished at Kampanowska Forest because I like accidentally I remembered I was supposed to escort a bomber and then I forgot for some reason, and then my strategic bomber got attacked. and then it got attacked by a ground AA. I forgot was in the area. So like the good news is your air defenses are higher too in many cases, so the risk of being hit by ground flak is less serious. So that like I think the air defense battle and the air attack battle is non-trivial. I would argue the biggest weakness in Deductor's playthrough is he did not take the air battle seriously enough. He should have brought more flak. It's very interesting to me that he didn't bring more flak because he made all of these in-family upgrade paths viable options, and he just needed more mobile anti-aircraft guns, and it would have some of these air battles. He's suffering like hardcore, and I don't think it was necessary. So if he had balanced his core, I you'll see I'll try to run with one fighter. I only plan on four fighters, um, and then four ground flak. So most people play with like two or three anti-aircraft guns. I think Deductor ends up playing with three, and then like five or six fighters. I think the balance should, I think it should be perfectly balanced between flak and fighters. And you have an incentive to do this because it's expensive to fight the Soviet fighters. And when you're starting to think about what these rules here, like rule 6 through 10, I want you guys to start thinking about how expensive it's going to be to elite replace your fighters. Maybe it's worth it to you to get your fighters more experience more quickly, but it will cost you. I'm actually like if you play with this rule set, you're actually facing opportunity cost between different decisions. If I was talking to Lacarnus about this, and Lacarnus is kind of like, people are just accumulating prestige, and it's just like it doesn't feel like they have to sacrifice anything. Where is the compromise? Where's the sacrifice being made? With these rules, it's like I'm basically saying good luck. You aren't going to be able to make a super core. The real reason I want to put all these other restrictions in is like a self defense mechanism. I know how hard it is, and these rules will make sure that your core is in excellent fighting shape when you enter 42, especially. Like I think 42 is extremely difficult. Like it's non-trivial. And obviously 43 it starts to get more insane, but I think you're going to start running into problems immediately. You're gonna whiff on air attacks and stuff. Like fighting and I love his mod because you whiff. The AI whiffs too. I mean, to be fair, it goes both directions. It's pretty nuts. So the fighting, I find the air fighting is very interesting and dynamic, and I think good operating principles should be reestablished. And you don't have to purchase extremely rare units, and there's certain things that you can't even purchase anyway in his mod. Like I don't think I'm going to be buying any jet fighters. Like those things were extremely rare. Like a Yag Tiger. Like I don't even think you could buy that. So this is what I want to do. I want to do a live play of this. I've been play testing things out to see how tough it is. It's very tough. Um, Ground defenses on units are generally raised, and then there's another buff in 43, and then certain select units get a buff in 44. Uh, so it's like uh, it's it's really intense, is the way I would put it. I want to real quick see. Uh, yeah, he goes over soft attack, hard attack stuff. Where was his SC infantry stat boost? Yeah, he mentions experienced infantry get a massive boost. So, can I? Um, where's his SE unit? Oh, it's down here, isn't it? I thought he had something in here. Maybe I need to do capitalized. Okay. he had something in here about I think it's +1 soft attack, +1 hard attack. Can't remember.